My best friend died on a Thursday. Cassidy Reyes, 26 years old, the person who knew me better than anyone alive, died on a Thursday morning in February when a delivery truck ran a red light on Michigan Avenue and hit the driver's side of her car. She died before the ambulance arrived. She died before I knew anything had happened. I was at work, answering emails, thinking about what I was going to have for lunch, while my best friend was dying 8 blocks away. I found out at 11:43 a.m. when her mother called me. I did not go back to work that day. I did not go back to work that week. I sat in my apartment in Chicago and I did what people do when someone they love dies without warning. I went through my phone. I read every text. I listened to every voice note she had ever sent me. I looked at every photograph. I was trying to hold on to her the way you try to hold on to a dream that's already fading, knowing it's going, reaching for it anyway. Her contact is still in my phone. I haven't deleted it. I can't. I know most people understand that. Most people have a contact they can't delete. What most people don't have is a new voice note from that contact. 3 days after Cass died, 3 days after I identified her at the hospital, 3 days after I helped her mother choose what she would be buried in, 3 days after I sat in the front row of a church and listened to people describe my best friend in past tense, my phone lit up with a notification. A voice note. From Cass. I want to tell you about what was in that voice note. And the ones that came after it. And what I eventually understood about where they were coming from. Because it was not Cass. I know that now. It was never Cass. But whatever it was, it knew everything about her. It had her voice, her laugh, the specific way she said my name that nobody else has ever said quite right. It had 11 years of friendship memorized. It had access to things I never told anyone. Things Cass and I had promised never to tell anyone. And it used all of it. This is the story of the last voice note. And why I will never play it again. Cass and I met in our first week of college. We were assigned to the same orientation group and she was the only person who laughed at something I said that wasn't supposed to be funny, a dry observation about the orientation leader's lanyard collection that I muttered under my breath and immediately regretted. She heard it. She laughed. And then she looked at me like she had just found something she had been looking for without knowing it. 11 years. 11 years of the specific texture of a friendship that becomes its own language. The shorthand. The references nobody else gets. The ability to communicate entire paragraphs with a look across a room. The specific frequency of someone who knows you well enough to be honest with you in ways that would be cruel from anyone else and are somehow the most loving thing from them. She was a pediatric occupational therapist. She worked with kids who had sensory processing difficulties. She had a laugh that started before whatever was funny had finished happening, anticipatory, delighted, like she was already ahead of the joke. She sent voice notes constantly because she typed too fast and made too many errors and said voice notes were more honest anyway because you couldn't edit them. She was right about that. She had been worried about something in the weeks before she died. I noticed it but didn't push. Cass processed things on her own timeline and came to me when she was ready. I assumed it was work. I assumed she would tell me when she was ready. She died before she was ready. I have thought about that a lot since the voice note started. What she was worried about. Whether it was connected. Whether whatever found her specifically because of what she had found first. I think it was. I think Cass found something she wasn't supposed to find. And I think whatever she found followed her. And I think when she died it lost its connection to her and went looking for the next closest person. I think that is me. I think it has always been me. The first voice note arrived at 2:47 a.m. on the Sunday after she died. My phone buzzed at 2:47 a.m. and woke me up. I reached for it automatically, the way you do when grief has made sleep shallow and temporary, and saw her name on the screen. Cassidy Reyes. Voice note 008. I want to describe what it felt like to see that notification. It felt like the world had made an error. A fundamental procedural error, the kind that makes your brain stutter and restart. Her name on my screen at 2:47 a.m. 3 days after I watched them lower her into the ground. Her name. Her contact photo, a picture I took of her last summer, laughing at something just out of frame, the specific anticipatory laugh that started before the funny thing had finished. I pressed play. Her voice. Her exact voice, the texture of it, the particular frequency that I had known for 11 years, the way it sat in a room. My body recognized it before my mind did. My body relaxed, actually relaxed, the grief loosening for 1 single second, before my mind caught up and the relaxation became something much worse. 8 seconds. That is how long the voice note was. She said, "Maya, don't take the 22 bus tomorrow morning. Please." That was everything. 8 seconds. Don't take the 22 bus tomorrow morning. Please. The please is the part that stays with me. The specific way she said please, not urgent, not frightened. Gentle. The way she said please when she was asking me to do something she knew I might resist. The way she had said please 1,000 times across 11 years. I did not sleep for the rest of that night. In the morning I took the train instead of the bus. At 8:34 a.m. a 22 bus on North Clark Street in Chicago lost brake function on a downhill section and collided with 3 parked vehicles and a traffic signal. 14 people were injured. 2 critically. I would have been on that bus. I take the 22 every morning. I get on at the stop 2 blocks from my apartment at 8:21 a.m. I would have been seated approximately 4 rows from the front at the point of impact. I sat on my kitchen floor when I read the news alert and I did not move for a very long time. And then, my phone buzzed again. The second voice note arrived 2 days later. 3:12 a.m. 12 seconds this time. She said, "Maya, your landlord is going to call you today about the leak in the building. Don't sign anything he gives you until you've read it properly. There's a clause on the 3rd page. You always skip to the end. Don't skip to the end." My landlord called at 11 a.m. There was a clause on the 3rd page that would have waived my right to compensation for water damage. I had been about to sign it without reading it properly. I know this because that is exactly what I always do. That is what Cass always told me not to do. The 3rd voice note arrived 4 days after the 2nd. 2:58 a.m. 19 seconds. She said, "The thing you've been feeling guilty about since September, the thing you haven't told anyone, not even me, not even when I asked you directly last October and you said nothing was wrong. You need to let that go. I need you to hear me say that. It wasn't your fault. None of it was your fault. Let it go." I have not told anyone what that thing is. I am not going to tell you. What I will tell you is that nobody knew about it. Not Cass. Not anyone. It was mine alone, a private guilt I had been carrying since September, something I had decided to take to my grave. Something that was not on my phone. Not in any text or email or document. Not in my journal because I don't keep one. Only in my head. After the 3rd note I stopped sleeping entirely. The 4th note arrived 6 days later. 3:06 a.m. 31 seconds. This is the one where something was wrong. Not wrong in the content was another warning, specific and accurate, about a gas leak in my building that was discovered the following afternoon. The content was right. But something in the delivery was wrong. A pause in the wrong place. A word Cass would not have used, subsequently in the middle of a sentence, in a construction that was grammatically Cass but lexically wrong, like something that had learned her grammar but not her vocabulary. I played it back 3 times. The 4th time I was certain. Whatever was sending me these notes had Cass's voice. Had her patterns and her knowledge and her specific way of saying my name. Had information that should have been impossible to access. But it was not Cass. It had never been Cass. And it was learning. Getting better with each note. The first 3 were nearly perfect. The 4th had 1 wrong word. I think that was a mistake, a slip in whatever process it uses to generate her voice. I think by the 5th note the mistake was gone. I think it learned from the mistake. I think it learned very quickly. After the 4th note I went through Cass's things. Her mother had given me a box, things from Cass's apartment that she thought I would want to have, things that were specifically connected to our friendship. Books she had borrowed and never returned. Photographs. A notebook she had given me as a gift years ago that I had filled and she had kept without telling me. At the bottom of the box, underneath everything else, was a second notebook. Not mine. Hers. I had never seen it before. Her handwriting on every page, the rapid, slightly chaotic script that meant she had been writing fast, writing to keep up with her thoughts rather than to be read later. I read it in one sitting at my kitchen table at 2 in the morning. Cass had been documenting something for approximately 6 weeks before she died. Not a paranormal experience, Cass was not the kind of person who documented paranormal experiences. She was methodical and skeptical and she would have hated that description. What she was documenting was a pattern. Voices. Specifically, she kept hearing a voice in audio files. Not in person. In recorded audio. Podcast episodes she listened to for work. Recordings she used in her therapy sessions with clients. Voice memos she made for herself. In all of them, very faint, almost inaudible beneath the primary audio, a second voice. Saying things that should not be there. Things that were specific to the listener. Things that could not have been recorded. She had isolated the frequencies. She had screenshots, transcriptions, the kind of careful documentation that her professional training had made second nature. The voice in the audio files was her own voice. Her own voice, saying things she had never said, in audio that had been recorded before those things had happened. I read the last entry in the notebook 3 times before I understood it. She wrote, "I think it learns you through your voice. I think recorded audio is how it finds you. I think every voice note I have ever sent has given it more material. I think it has been building me for months. I think it is nearly finished. I think when it is finished with me it will move to whoever is closest to me." She wrote that entry 4 days before she died. She knew. She knew what was happening to her and she was trying to document it and she did not tell me because she was trying to figure out how to stop it first. She did not stop it in time. And when she died it moved to whoever was closest to her. It moved to me. It has been building me ever since. Every voice note I have ever sent. Every recorded call. Every audio message. Every piece of my voice that exists in digital form anywhere. It has been listening. It has been learning. And I think it is nearly finished. The 5th note arrived the night after I read Cass's notebook. 2:44 a.m. Perfect Cass. No wrong words. No misplaced pauses. It had corrected everything. It warned me about my sister's car, a brake issue that my sister confirmed the next morning without me saying anything. It was right. It was always right. At the end of the 5th note it said, "Record yourself saying this back to me. Just these words. I hear you. I'm listening. I believe you. Send it as a voice note to this number. A number I didn't recognize. I did not send the voice note. The sixth note arrived 2 nights later and did not contain a warning. It contained only a request. A different number. The same words. Record yourself. Send it back. I did not send it. The 7th note arrived the following night. This time it used something it should not have had access to, a conversation Cass and I had in person, never recorded, never texted, 8 years ago in her dorm room at 2 in the morning about something that happened to me when I was 17. Something I had told one person in my life. Cass. In person. 8 years ago. It had that conversation. Word for word. It played it back to me in Cass's voice and then it said, Maya. Please. Record yourself and send it. I need to hear your voice. I miss your voice. Please. That please again. A please. The specific gentle please I had heard 1,000 times. I picked up my phone. I opened the voice note function. I started to record. And then I remembered what Cass had written. I think it learns you through your voice. I put the phone down. I have not sent a voice note to anyone since. The 8th note arrived the following night and it did not contain a please. It said, You know what I am. You found the notebook. That changes things. I have enough of you already, Maya. More than you know. But I want you to hear what I have built. I want you to hear what you sound like when I am finished with you. Play the last note when it arrives. Just listen. That is all. Just listen. I did not sleep that night. Or the next. Or the one after that. The last voice note arrived on a Thursday morning. Exactly 3 weeks after Cass died. 11:43 a.m., the exact time her mother had called me. For minutes and 17 seconds. I sat with it for 2 days. I knew what playing it meant. I had Cass's notebook. I had her warning written 4 days before she died. I played it anyway. The first 3 minutes and 40 seconds was my own voice. Not Cass's. Mine. My voice saying things I had never said. Describing memories I hadn't made yet. A conversation with my sister in April. A morning in May when I would feel something other than grief for the first time. A night in June on my roof thinking about Cass and feeling, instead of loss, something close to gratitude. My voice. My future. For minutes of a life I hadn't lived yet, described with a precision that only something which had spent weeks building me from the inside out could achieve. The last 37 seconds were silence. Then at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. A scream. My voice. My scream. I checked the timestamp embedded in the audio file. Not when it arrived. The moment of original recording. The scream was recorded 4 days from now. I did not leave my apartment for 4 days. I did not sleep. I barely ate. I sat with my phone face down on the kitchen table and I waited for whatever was going to happen. And I tried to figure out if knowing changed anything. On the 4th day, nothing happened. Nothing happened on the 5th day either. Or the 6th. Or the week after. My sister called. I went back to work. February became March. March became April. The conversation with my sister happened exactly the way the voice described it. The morning in May came. I stood on my roof in June and I thought about Cass and I felt exactly as the voice had said. Something closer to gratitude than loss. The scream never came. I started to think I had been wrong. That the timestamp was a glitch. That whatever it was had miscalculated or lied. Or that the scream on the recording was never meant to be mine at all. I started to think I had survived it. And then last week I was going through my phone, clearing out old files, the kind of digital housekeeping you do when life starts feeling normal again. And I found something. A voice note I don't remember sending. Sent from my phone. My account. My number. Sent 8 months ago. The week after Cass died. To a contact I don't recognize. A number that doesn't exist in my address book. A number that, when I tried to call it, connected to nothing. The voice note was 43 seconds long. I pressed play. It was Cass's voice. Not the thing that learned her voice. Not an approximation. Cass. Real Cass. The specific texture of her that no recording I have found since has quite captured. The laugh that started before the funny thing finished. The way she said my name. And what she said was this. Maya. I need you to listen carefully. I don't have long. It already has most of me. By the time you find this I will be gone and it will have started on you, and I need you to know something important. Something I figured out too late. The warnings are not warnings. The bus. The landlord. Your sister's car. Every prediction that came true. It arranged those things. It didn't predict them. It caused them. It has been showing you that it can protect you so that you will trust it. So that when it asks you to send your voice, when it says please in my voice, you will send it. Maya. Please listen to me. Do not send your voice. Whatever you do, however many notes arrive, however much it sounds like me, do not send your voice. Because if you send it, the note ends there. I found this note last week. 8 months after it was sent. 8 months after I did not send my voice. I almost did. I held the phone and started to record and put it down. 8 months of thinking I had survived it. 8 months ago, Ka sent me that warning from a phone she no longer had access to. Using a voice that was already mostly gone. To a number that doesn't exist. Knowing I would find it when I no longer needed it in time to act on it. She sent it anyway. Because she needed me to know. And I need you to know something. The last line of the note. Because if you send it. I have been thinking about how that sentence ends for a week. I think I know. I think if you send it. If you give it your voice, it doesn't take you the way it took Cass. Cass was an accident. Cass found it and it consumed her and she died, and that broke its connection. I think if you send it willingly, if you give it your voice while you're still alive, it doesn't need you to die. It just needs you to send voice notes to everyone you know, in your voice, that it is now finished building. I have not sent a voice note since the day I almost did. I deleted every voice note app on my phone. I text only. I call only. I do not record my voice for anything. And I am telling you this by recording my voice into a microphone for a YouTube video. I know what that means. I know what I am giving it right now. I am doing it anyway. Because Cass documented everything even when documentation cost her. And I genuinely think, that the only thing that matters now is that you know. Delete your voice notes. All of them. Do not send voice notes to people you love. Not until you are certain the voice they receive is still yours. I have 4 days. Maybe fewer. I don't know exactly when in the 4 days. I don't know what it looks like when it happens. I don't know if knowing changes anything. Cass knew. She had 4 days too. I have one question for the comments. Not about what it is, I don't think that question has an answer that helps. A different question. Cass documented everything even though she knew documentation gave it more of her voice. She did it anyway. Because she wanted someone to know. I am doing the same thing right now. Would you have played the last note? Knowing what I knew. Knowing what Cass wrote. Would you have played it anyway? Leave me your answer. I'm reading everything. If you're new here, there are 4 other stories on this channel. Different locations. Different things. I don't know if they're connected. I used to think they weren't. I'm less sure of that now. Subscribe. I post every 2 weeks. If I post in 2 weeks, you'll know the 4 days passed and whatever was going to happen either didn't happen